everybody. Welcome. Here we go. It's that time again. Matt Connarton Unleashed. And we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna Skype in our guest. And if you'd like to join us, well, let me do this because, of course, he'll be on Skype. So the phone line will be open, 603-250-6007. If you'd like to enter the conversation that we are about to begin, 603-250-6007. You can also text me at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connarton or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And, of course, you can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do, of course, so that we may hear and enjoy your dulcet tones, is to give us a call at 603-250-6007. I love how, like, nobody ever talks when I do this. Like,
no, I can talk.
This is the one time.
Everyone. That's not true. I do it all the time.
Everyone.
I didn't realize you were turning around like
whenever
that
whenever I go to Skype somebody in, everyone.
That is not true.
It's not just you. Everyone in the room always goes dead silent.
Most of the time, I don't do that. I just honestly was kind of in my own little space for a moment there, and I lost it.
Let's see if we've got Billy on the line. Billy, are you there?
What's going on?
Oh, good. Okay. Hey, how are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing well, coming off the heels of one hell of a weekend.
Excellent. So Billy, of course, has been on the show a number of times, and Billy does a lot online and is very active with podcasting and so forth. But I thought Monday, this would be a good day to have Billy on to talk about what he did over the weekend, because you're here with me on Mondays, Jenny, and you know a lot more about this subject than I do.
Yeah, wrangle me into stuff. This is what I need to start my week off.
And then there's Easy G on the couch, who presumably knows nothing about the subject, but
zero.
Will no doubt. But I'm sure, Eric, you would like to ask. Did you want to ask Billy a question up front?
I can't think of anything right now.
I thought you'd want to ask him if he's been to Canada.
Why?
No, I only asked that for our performers.
Oh,
Singing
right.
performers.
That's right. All right. Well, very
I
good.
feel like I missed something here.
Yeah, well, Eric usually likes to ask people if they've performed in Canada.
Well, I ain't performed in Canada, but I have been up there. In fact, as I can recall, I had to go through New Hampshire to get there.
Very good.
Go.
Very good.
Yes. Very popular to go to New Hampshire go there through New Hampshire.
Yes.
Duh.
Yeah.
I know how to speak English sometimes. Oh,
Yeah,
God help me.
Took a trip up to Montreal, so.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. I've been to Canada, but I've never been to Montreal. I only went to boring parts.
I got to go there as part of a delegation from New Hampshire in a government thing. We were like,
Oh, that's right.
We were representing.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was about Northern Pass, right?
That was about Northern Pass, yes.
Yes.
Secretly. It was billed to us about it being more about border security. Like, we went through the whole customs thing to see how both sides were and how they work and how terribly sad America's side is compared to Canada. And the next thing we knew, we're at the headquarters with the vice president telling us all about this and why we need to support it.
Yes.
So we shredded him.
By the way, Nemi is in the chat room and says, wow, Skype call quality is great. Maybe I should try that instead of the phone. Studio side is hard to hear. Yeah, but of course, Billy's got professional equipment too, so that always helps. All right, Billy. So, what did you do over the weekend? What was your big weekend?
Well, of course, you had Mike Miller on in the past, and I've been helping him out with his campaign. And for him to show some gratitude, he enrolled me in the a tactical training class with a company called Watchmen Tactical Training. They're out of Boise, Idaho. And basically, it was basic training because I'm going to get my concealed carry permit, and went there to learn what I don't know.
Very good. And this was both days, Saturday and Sunday?
Yes, it was.
Now, you said something the other day about when you called in about how you can get does this training lead you to be able to get a license that is recognized in 45 states? Is that correct?
That is correct.
So but who issues that license? Is it issued by the state of Idaho?
It's issued by the state of Idaho and good in about 45 states. The no-fly zones, of course, New York, California, Oregon, just to name a few.
Okay. All right. Because there's no federal license, right? So how does that work? Do the states that recognize the license, is there some sort of a compact that they sign on to? Or, I mean, do you know the...
It's reciprocity, and it's based upon each individual state has certain requirements. Like New Hampshire doesn't have reciprocity with a lot of states because we don't have the requirements that those states do.
Yeah.
Massachusetts has a lot of requirements. For example, some states require fingerprinting, some don't. Some require classes, others don't.
Yeah.
So it varies state to state. Idaho has a number of states. I thought it was like 20 or so, but of course, you live there. You'd know better than me. But because theirs is so extensive to get, they have more reciprocity with other states. Like Vermont has no reciprocity with anybody because they have no license. There's no way to get a license or a permit.
Yeah.
In Vermont, it just doesn't exist. It never has.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Billy.
To my knowledge, too, I believe New Hampshire does have constitutional carry, if I'm not mistaken.
We have constitutional carry. We also have concealed carry licenses, not permits. And we are a shall issue state, not a may issue state. So we actually have quite extensive constitutional carry here. We also rewrote our constitution in the 1980s, making it more specific about the right to personal protection.
What does that mean, shall issue versus will issue, or shall issue versus may issue?
May issue means they may issue you a permit, but they may not. In Massachusetts, there are may issue states. So in this case, you apply with your local police chief, and your local police chief has an arbitrary decisional factor. They can literally just say, I don't like you. Nope. They'll say they don't do that, but bull. The truth is, some people take it very personally, and they decide who in town gets to protect themselves or not. Here in New Hampshire, if you are legally allowed to possess and own a firearm, you are legally allowed to have a concealed carry license. They can't just say no. If you meet all the legal requirements, which is basically you meet the federal standards of being able to have a firearm, you're not a felon, you're not, anything like that, then they have to give it to you.
Okay.
They don't get that choice as far as whatever they decide to come out of their head with. It's actually in law, in statute.
Okay. Nemi in the chat says New Hampshire licenses are reciprocal in roughly 15 states, if she remembers correctly.
Yeah, I don't remember how many it was. But you have to get past states that you're not legal in to get to the ones that you are legal in.
Yeah.
There's no straight legal way to go from New Hampshire to our next local state.
Yeah.
Outside of Vermont.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is the situation in Vermont? They just have nothing? Like
Vermont has never had that, ever. And they don't have the Wild West, and it's not insane there. They have never required a piece of paper issued by the government. It's always been, if you can legally carry and possess, you can legally carry and possess.
Yeah.
The downside is because they don't have any paperwork available, you don't get the reciprocity in other states.
Okay.
So you may have to apply for those states individually.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Jenny. All the states, they seem to have a lot of gun violence, and we don't seem to have that in New Hampshire. Is that because a lot of people have guns here?
In part, an armed society can be a very polite society. I would absolutely venture to guess that criminals do think twice in New Hampshire because people can defend themselves. Big difference than Massachusetts, where a guy breaking into a house can bust through a skylight and then sue the homeowner for his broken leg. We don't. Our laws are different. Some states are more insane.
Now, Crystal in the Facebook live chat has a question for you, Billy. She says, if you get this license to carry in 45 states, would you theoretically, I think I know the answer to this already, but would you theoretically have to get insurance as well, for example, if that law passes in California?
No, not if I was in California, yes, but then again, gun laws are very, very, very restrictive in the state of California. And from what I understand, too, and I'm going to talk to a buddy of mine who's actually in the area, but I don't think that particular law is valid throughout the whole state of California. I think it's just mainly focused on San Jose and the Silicon Valley.
Yeah. And Mel McMell says, once again, Vermont is awesome. And she said, I'm much more polite to someone holding a gun, knives too. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
It's not the idea, but it's not the idea of even having it visible. I personally, when I would work with women who were doing self-protection and so forth, we talked about not being visible with your firearm, not letting the criminal have a knowledge that you have a means to defend yourself.
Right.
If that's the case and somebody shows up in a business intent to do harm and they can see you carrying, you're target number one, buddy. You are you're not necessarily the deterrent. You are necessarily the first target. If you are carrying concealed, you're better able to protect yourself because you have the ability to defend yourself, which the criminal, and most often a lot with women, don't expect the fight back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nemi in the chat says, we have Knife 2A as well. Thank you for your service, the Honorable Representative Coffee.
That is true, yes.
Very nice. Yes, absolutely. But
that's a whole nother issue today. Let's talk about this one. And the other thing, it's not 45 states. It's like 20. There's no such thing as a license that guarantees 45 states.
Oh.
It's just not happening. We'd love to have it, but it's not there yet. It's just not there.
Well, I wonder, you raised this question, Jenny. Were there, the class that you took over the weekend, Billy, were there women in the class as well?
Yes, there were. Of course, I think the guys outnumbered them because I think there were only two, if I can recall. But yes, there were women there.
Okay, yeah. And how many people in the class total? Do you know roughly?
It was a small class, probably about between 12 and 15 of us.
Okay.
Including one gentleman from Iran who's been in the United States for the last 20 plus years.
Okay. Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. So now, what kind of things did you learn at this class? Because I imagine, obviously, you're someone who already has experience with firearms. What additional things were you able to learn?
Well, let me answer your question by saying this. As I said when I called in on Friday, that, as a kid, I was trained with rifles, and if I had a pistol, it was merely a revolver. So my experience with any semi-automatic pistols or semi-automatic weapons in general is I'm a relative novice with that. And I learned it really quickly because I had actually bought my brand new 9mm Glock 48 from Mike Miller, and I met him at an indoor range in Meridian, Idaho, where went in there and go pop off a few rounds, and the little thing's got a kick, let me tell you. And first time I'm firing it, and I've basically got my, I got my hind knuckle of my thumb right there cupped around the pistol, and it's kicking back and hitting that knuckle, and that hurt.
That does sound
bad hand placement. That happens, but it's a skill. It's a skill. It takes a lot of practice to pick up your firearm and being able to hold it correctly.
What does it mean to taste the Kretschmar life? Is it having one sports car for every day of the week? A boat that has its own boat? Walking on the red carpet everywhere you go? Or is it just enjoying the finest ham, beef, and poultry and award-winning Wisconsin cheeses? Yep, it's the last one. Premium deli that everyone can enjoy. Taste the Kretschmar life.
It's so different from a revolver, which I'm so used to. And, then Mike showed me, put the meaty part of your hand against that part of the pistol, and it's not going to be so bad. And so I started making a habit of doing that, and I gradually got better with that. And, of course, the next day the class started, and, there were 4 essential rules that are just basic common sense and universal. I mean, and my instructor, Kerry Lambois, I think I said, hopefully I didn't butcher his name, but he said we had to memorize these rules. I haven't fully memorized them verbatim, so I got them right here in front of me. Rule number 1, treat every gun you touch as if it was loaded.
Yes.
Rule number 2, never point the muzzle of a gun at anything you do not intend to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
Rule number 3, finger off the trigger until the sights are on the target you have made the decision to shoot. Rule number 4, be aware of your target, what lies in front and beyond it.
Oh, that last one I hadn't heard, but that makes a lot of sense.
Well, a bullet doesn't stop traveling just necessarily because it hit something. You can go right through that and keep going.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
You need to know what's beyond that. You're
Hey.
responsible if there's some little kid back there and you shoot them.
Hey, Billy, did you hear about that? It happened a while back. There was supposed to be a prop of a gun on a studio over in Hollywood, and come to find out there was a bullet in there. Somebody got killed. Did you hear about that?
I think Billy's heard about that.
Oh,
I would think so.
Alec Baldwin, yes. Actually, that happened in New Mexico, and
Right.
shortly after that happened, I actually know an actor, or he's a retired actor, who has done a few movies and has worked on that set in New Mexico. So,
Yeah, I still think they're investigating, but it seems like something went wrong.
Well, clearly, yes.
Live ammo on a set is wrong, period. Like, that shouldn't have even existed there.
Yeah, it was an accident, obviously, but
It should have never existed there. Somebody was doing stuff they shouldn't have been doing because there never should be live ammo ever, even there,
Yeah,
to get mixed up in the first place.
Police are investigating. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, I know.
Nemi was asking in the chat room if, I think it was Nemi who asked this, were firearms provided for the training, or did you have to bring your own?
you had to bring your own.
Okay. Gotcha.
It's common here in New Hampshire that we actually, and it happens, of course, in other places. I'm sure it's there where you are too. We will have training classes that are women only, no men allowed. And it's amazing what happens when you get a group of women in a room away from everybody else. And they learn everything from safety to how to clean it, how to take it apart, how to put it back together. Just all, and women become much more interested in their own personal protection when they're in a place where they get to express that without a fear of being judged. Whether it's fairly or not, women automatically assume that the guys around them are going to judge them when it comes to their firearms or anything about it.
Yeah.
And I experienced that firsthand back in the early years.
Did you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. First place we ever went, and I won't say the name of the place because I don't want to say anything bad, but it was really, really early on. There was a small group of us. There was maybe 6 of us at the time in the whole state that got together. And we went to a place where you can get your lane, but you can also rent firearms if you want to, and you can bring your own. So we had kind of a mixture of things going on there. But one of the girls is extraordinarily skilled, and she was actually helping to teach other people. And dude literally, she's a gorgeous blonde. Dude literally just walks up to her, and she's got a cannon in her hand practically. And he's like, yeah, you want me to give you a little help with that, honey? She threw him daggers like I could never believe, and then proceeded to shoot the face out of the target. He walked away and didn't bother us again. But that's one instance. There have been other instances where you get some dumbass. Sorry, should I? Is that
No, that's fine. That's fine.
That, tries to school the women as if they have no clue.
Nemi in the chat says, I'm so psyched to be sitting here listening to Jenny talk about the great old days. We were really, really blessed, no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Now, Crystal has a question that Jenny and Billy, you both might have some insight on this. She says, stupid question, which there are no stupid questions.
No, not at all.
Can an actor tell the difference? Actually, this is a great question. Can an actor tell the difference by looking at it at a live ammo bullet versus a blank bullet if they peeked into the gun prop as an extra safety measure? Great question, Crystal.
Potentially, if they're trained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Billy. Go ahead.
I mean, that's one of the things we were taught in the class I was just in too. Is you treat every gun as if it was loaded. That means you check it, you point it in a safe area, and it's a revolver. You open that gate or pop out that cylinder, and you make sure of it. With an automatic, you slide it back and make sure it locks. Stick your pinky down to the chamber to make sure that you don't feel a round in there. If there is a round, you get it the hell out of there. So,
yeah,
and I would think that actors would have that same training.
See, I don't think so, because there are handlers that are supposed to handle the firearms and hand them to them.
The armorer.
You're not the armorer. Yes, you're
yeah.
not supposed to take the firearm apart on set. But there were so many things I think that they did wrong in this, in that he describes it as a situation where he's showing them what he's going to do, and he pulls the hammer back.
Yeah.
And nobody had it, and that bothers me, because I believe that it's very likely it was like a hair trigger situation, because he pulled that hammer back, that he just it wouldn't take much at that point. But they might know the difference of what they look like, but they're not the ones that are clearing it or getting it ready for. They're told what to do.
And the armorer, right? She said, when she hands the gun to Alec Baldwin in this case, and I assume this is standard procedure in these instances, I don't know, but she says cold gun, or announces it, right? She yells at cold gun.
They're supposed to,
meaning that
before
the actor,
right when the actor is going to get handed the firearm, they're supposed to announce if it's cold or hot.
Yeah.
Cold being not loaded. And from what they're saying, that was said to him. So it's a combination, a compounding of things that went wrong. And one thing that's interesting about firearms and firearm owners, when you have accidents, a lot of times they happen with the experienced shooter, because they became a bit lackadaisical. Oh. It's the new shooter who's running all of those things through their mind. Check this, put this here, do that. It's the one that's been doing it forever that skips a step without really even thinking about it.
That makes sense. So
that's something I've always kept in the forefront of my mind.
Yeah.
Just to be extra precautious.
Yeah.
For myself. But in this situation, the whole thing that set the entire chain of events off was live ammo on a set.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me think somebody was messing around and doing like target shooting or something.
Yeah.
And that's how that got mixed up with dummies.
Yeah.
That's, in my opinion, the whole cause is whoever brought live ammo onto that set.
Right.
Well, yeah, Jenny, and you kind of, what came to my mind too is thought back to Brandon Lee and the Crow, and I'm like, didn't they learn anything from that incident?
They did, but not enough apparently. And like I said, I think that there was some, because there's another guy, not just the armorer, her assistant or another person of that was there and is the actual person that yelled cold gun.
Oh, okay. I thought it was her.
She did not hand the gun to him. It was a male working with the armorer that did and yelled cold gun. So who put the live ammo in there? Who loaded the gun with a live ammo and didn't notice it wasn't a dummy? The live ammo is the root cause of everything that went wrong. And they shouldn't have any live ammo on any scent, anywhere, anyhow. There's no excuse for it. None. Zero. No reason.
Nemi says she believes it was deliberate sabotage.
Really?
It's possible.
It is. Is it possible? Yes, absolutely. We don't know.
Yeah. I mean, how did that live ammo?
Now, her dad, the armorer's dad, I think actually makes that accusation that they believed it was sabotage.
Yeah. Yeah, very well could be. Very well could be. Hopefully someday we'll know. Shannon McGuire in the chat room says, my 70-year-old mother, strong and healthy, both mentally and physically, took a firearm safety course and owns her own firearm. Very good.
Yep, the women that started years ago the organization that I worked with, which was the Second Amendment Sisters, were grandmas.
Yeah.
They were grandmas that did not want the Million Mommers to represent all women in the United States.
Okay.
And then Dr. Susanna Huff was, of course, involved, and it went on from there.
Yeah. Tom Blanchard says in the chat, when I took the hunter safety course many years ago, they drilled into us, never trust anyone. Never trust anyone and always check for yourself. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, never, ever. That's a basic training. You never take somebody else's word for anything.
Right.
Anything. And even if you've checked it and done it yourself, you still never point a gun in the direction of somebody you want to see dead or an animal dead or anything like that. Always point in a safe direction. I don't care if you checked it 15 times. Still do it in a safe direction. It's muscle memory. It's a good habit, and it helps to cut down on accidents if that's what you make is good habits with your firearm ownership.
By the way, I see a new name in the chat, Flaka Rivera. Can you guys mention the missing girl from Manchester, New Hampshire, Harmony Montgomery, please and thanks. Yeah, we'll look for an update on that. We'll do that in the next segment. Absolutely, thank you. We will. Nemi says not a lot of developments to report, unfortunately. Billy, was there a lot of law enforcement there? Is that I would imagine I would imagine there's law enforcement folks who take part in training like this. That you were at over the weekend?
It's funny you mentioned that. There weren't really anybody there that were training to be police officers. These were basically, I myself and other civilians there just learning basic gun safety there. But the training I went through was exactly how they train a lot of police officers, I believe, with the Boise PD. The drill of the draw, as I call it, because we were being taught a specific way to draw our gun if we had to, sidestep, how you pull the gun, and I got to tell you, it was a bit rigorous for me because we were outside Saturday morning and it was freezing. And, my arthritis just started kicking in. So, it wasn't easy for me at that moment, but, I just kept pushing through. Luckily the sun was shining and it started to get warmer throughout the day.
Yeah.
But my arthritis was starting to hinder me a little bit, and I'm standing there, and I'm in a frozen position, and I'm hurting, but I'm just maintaining going forward with everything, and of course,
Dang, dude, don't you have indoor ranges with heat?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But my instructor, Kerry LaFamboise, that's his name. He already emphasized how reasons why he didn't like it, indoor ranges. But I'll tell you what, because I was having a tough time with it, and then of course I'd start feeling the pressure. When it was time to fire, I wouldn't squeeze the trigger. I would yank the trigger, and I would be off target. But this is what's really interesting. Is what made a big difference is. You know what? I think my coat is limiting my mobility. So I'm going to take it off for the draw. I did that, and that I improved like 85-90%.
Ah, interesting.
It's practice to draw. It's something that you need to practice. It's something you have to continue to practice. So it is muscle memory. So you can deal with if you've got where your clothing is. Like I used to, I had a revolver that had a shrouded hammer so it wouldn't get stuck on my sweaters, for example. Mm-hmm. But it really does all come down to practice. When you stop doing something, you're not so good at it anymore.
Yeah.
And shooting, just like any other sport or habit or training, that's what it comes down to, is that training and that memory.
Yeah.
Because in the heat of the moment, if you are in a situation where, I thankfully never had to pull my firearm on anyone. Mm-hmm. Or haven't had to do anything like that to anyone ever in my life, and I hope I never do. But in that heat of that moment, you get what's called tunnel vision, and you get very, very. You're going to be scared. You're going to have fight, flight, and fear going on because that's what your body's going to do. Heart rate goes up, pulse goes up, everything starts to get tunneled. That it's hard to keep track of everything that's around you, behind you, or see beyond the person. That's a real thing. So in those moments, if you don't have that muscle memory, if you haven't done that training, is when you can actually hurt yourself rather than help yourself in a situation or hurt others.
Or hurt others, yeah.
If carrying is a responsibility, it's not just about you. It's about the people around you.
Yeah.
You need to be safe. And you should. I always recommended classes. We don't require them here, but a basic handgun class is good for anybody. And here in New Hampshire, that encompasses all the things that you're talking about. And we usually also have a law component where a lawyer will come in and talk about the gun laws in the state and what is okay and what is not okay and what's brandishing versus, what says you don't, to keep you on the right side of the law, to make sure that you understand what your responsibilities are as that gun owner and act appropriately in public.
Yeah, no doubt. What was that? Was that talked about at all, Billy? Jenny mentioned laws and all that. Was that part of the training this weekend?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I want to emphasize something else she was talking about too. That heat of the moment, basically, where you just get that shot of adrenaline throughout your body, and your brain takes over. Like the first time I killed a deer. I had been target shooting and I bruised my shoulder due to the recoil from the rifle and all that, but got myself ready. The first time I shot at a deer, I barely heard the noise from the rifle, and I didn't feel the recoil. Now, and if you get in a situation where you have to pull your gun on a human being, you can imagine it's a lot worse. I'm only going by what I was told. I am not speaking from experience on that, but I can just imagine how that tunnel vision goes. And, obviously, how they encourage hearing protection when you're out firing. If you have to fire on a human being, which I do not encourage, I never have to, you're not going to hear that shot, though. It goes to that.
Interesting. I've heard other people say that when the adrenaline's going that happens. Yeah.
Those kind of situations, to give people like kind of an idea, it's not just about what happens when you pull a firearm on somebody. Anytime you're in a high stress situation like that, the first time I ever started an IV as an EMT in the field without somebody else with me that knew how to do it, when I was on my own 100%, I was tunneled in. It was me, that person, that needle, that everything. I wasn't aware of how many other people arrived on scene until after I had successfully done that. And I started to give the medication. I started to breathe a little easier. But in the heat of that moment, I was so just focused that everything else was just to the wayside for me.
Yeah. No,
so that's what happens in those heat of that moment. It's stressful.
Yeah.
But you should never, ever, ever, ever point a firearm at somebody that you don't plan to kill. If you don't plan to kill that person, do not put your gun at them. It's not okay to sit there and brandish it around and be like, look what I have, I'm going to get you. That's not okay.
So I have a strange,
on my book anyway,
kind of a strange question for both of you. And Jenny, I've never I never really hear anyone talk about this. I've never heard you say anything about it. But I'll ask you both. It might be a very strange question. I don't know, but I'm wondering because as we're talking about, how to draw a gun properly and how to hold it properly and all the rules. Like, do you ever watch like have you ever watched a police drama or an action film and you find yourself kind of noticing the way the actors handle the guns, the way they draw, or maybe a Western?
We used to play a game where we'd identify the gun. Yeah. Right. So when they'd show one on screen, you'd be like, "Oh, that's a Glock, or that's a Ruger P340." You'd figure out what gun it is in the movie. But you look at everything.
No, but what I'm wondering about is, do you ever kind of start to pick apart in your brain, like that draw? That's not how you draw a gun. What's that guy doing? Or,
revolver's got 13 shots now, huh? Absolutely.
Really?
Or if their hand was really there, that they'd be broken right now. That doesn't work that way.
Interesting.
No, I've done that. I'm sure that I Billy, you.
Well, that's another interesting thing too, is what Carrie was talking about during the classes. One thing that they do not approve of is holding the gun Hollywood style. Now, if you look at pictures, I think One that comes to mind is the poster for Cobra with Sylvester Stallone. He's holding the gun upright towards, just beside his head. And that's like
ridiculous
the Hollywood
way to hold it. Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, I got an interesting one. It is probably not a positive, not a popular comment to make. However, I'll make it. One of the things that I noticed in the Kyle Rittenhouse situation was his very good trigger control. And I know that sounds terrible to say because he did kill people. However, he was, if you believe, as I believe, that he was defending himself. He never had his finger on that trigger until he absolutely had to. Every picture you see of him, the gun is pointed, the muzzle's down. His hand is in appropriate position. It never hits the trigger until it's absolutely that moment when he defends himself. He had extremely good control. And that's something I noticed about watching his videos is you never see his trigger finger in the wrong place.
That's interesting.
And I'm sure that came from training.
Oh yeah, no doubt. But yeah, in the movies, of course, and on television, it's it's all about. I guess holding the gun is all about how cool it looks,
How sexy can it look?
rather than precision and safety, and of course
Tomb Raider style.
Yeah.
Swords in the back too.
You ever see Desperado with Antonio Banderas?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that's I know far less about guns than either of you do, but I remember watching that movie and thinking, this is it's almost like he's doing ballet with those guns, and it's it looks cool on screen, but it's not realistic at all. At least I assume it's not.
One of the things we used to do, I know we did it with my stepbrother, and I've seen it done with other people, is take like a phone book or something. Well, I'm sounding old school now, phone book, to a firing range and just take a 22 caliber, nothing huge, and show somebody what it does, how it goes in, how it comes out, or show them what a 45 does, how it goes in, how it comes out. So you see more something that shows you a little bit more realistically than what you see on TV, where somebody takes a shot and he's like, "Oh, I'm walking around and shooting." No, you're not. No, you're not.
Right.
You're hoping somebody like me shows up and saves your butt. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not walking around shooting nothing.
Yeah.
Or the never-ending gun. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
It never runs out of bullets, ever.
Yeah.
The revolver never runs out of bullets. And for those who don't, revolvers can't hold that much. It's like 5 or 6. Yeah. Some of them 4. My mother-in-law had one that was this little 2-bullet little Derringer type little thing.
Oh, no kidding.
And you pulled it back. It was like, that's all it did. It had 1 shot in it.
Oh, wow.
Yep. There was one other thing I wanted to comment on too, Matt.
Yes.
Is one situation that I often think about, and I understand it a lot better now since taking that class. I understand it so much better. Is I've watched several movies about Bonnie and Clyde, and of course each movie that I watch, I can't tell you how factual it was, but the end result could not be fictionalized, because obviously you go to that museum wherever it is and you look at that car that they were driving and you can tell it was just riddled with bullets.
Yeah.
And you can Google the pictures, you see they're pictures of their bodies and they're full of holes. And I'm thinking, Bonnie and Clyde were not good people. I understand that, but did Frank Hamer and the crew he was with, wasn't that overkill? I can't help thinking of just the way they were done. But that adrenaline rush that I was talking about is probably what took over at that moment.
That makes sense, because they knew that they were shooting at. I mean, Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah,
of course,
they had machine guns.
They had become famous, and
and they were some evil people, man. They killed.
Yeah.
So and they had machine guns. So all they had to do was get a beat on you and start going, and the cops would be gone. So it was kill or be killed in that moment, I think.
Yeah, the only Bonnie and Clyde film I remember ever watching myself is the probably the most famous one with Warren Beatty, and I forget the actress now who starred with him in that. But there's Faye Dunaway. Thank you, Billy. There's that scene at the end of the movie where they It's very well done, and that film really kind of was very good at making you feel some sort of sympathy for them, even though they were not good people. But that scene where it's about to happen, they're about to die, and that close up shot where they look at each other like, oh, this is it. It's a very, very powerful film. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it to anyone who hasn't watched it. But by the way, Mel in the chat room says, I love when a gun just starts shooting as it falls down the stairs.
Oh, yes.
So realistic.
Inanimate object is making itself work. Guns don't work that way. They really don't.
We have a call. Let's grab this before we reach the end of the hour. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hi, Jenny. Hey, I only got one quick thing to say, or two things, actually. One, your TV link's not on. Maybe you know already.
Oh.
And also that I was flipping through the internet stuff the other day, and I came across Kiss Shouted Out Loud, the movie. And I thought, geez, I wonder if you'd ever seen it, because it was really good.
Oh, there's a million of those Kiss mini documentaries on YouTube. Yeah.
I think Matt's seen them all, to be truthful.
I'm sure I've seen them all.
He's seen like all of them.
Okay. Well, there you go. I was just thinking, in case you hadn't, I'll just pass on the info.
All right, Ron. Thank you for the call.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
There's a discussion in the chat room. I think it's good to mention this about Kyle Rittenhouse and the firearm that was used that he had in that and that he killed people with.
Yeah.
He actively petitioned the court not to get it back, but to be able to destroy it. That gun should it go public, I'm sure would be worth a ton of money on the market. Let's face it, people buy macabre things. Mm-hmm. People keep things that are nasty. I mean, that's why we can do genetic testing on some incredible executions, because we still have blood samples for them.
Yeah.
But the guy that actually bought the gun, I think wanted to get it back and claim ownership. And where Kyle was found innocent, he would have a leg to stand on as well. The judge actually did side with Kyle and agreed to destroy the firearm. So it's not going to be able to go out there into the market and become some kind of macabre piece. It is going to be destroyed. And I really think that was commendable. Not commendable, I shouldn't use that word. I think it was the right choice.
Yeah.
To not allow something to become glorified.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good insight. Even if you're all in with Rittenhouse, you don't want to glorify something like that.
I can understand why he wouldn't want it either.
I think that makes sense. What do you think, Billy? How do you feel about that?
If somebody was to take that firearm and put it up on the market, I think it's like a big slap in the face, because obviously we're not Kyle Rittenhouse. We don't know how he felt about doing what he had to do. Just like when Bonnie and Clyde were killed. They brought that bullet-riddled car through the middle of a town, and people were running all over it. Mm-hmm. One lady ripped a button off of Bonnie's blouse, and that button later sold for today. Somebody recently bought it like within the last 10 years for like thousands of dollars. Yeah. And I think that's ridiculous. So I think it's a great thing that weapon was destroyed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Billy Painter, my friend, we're actually at the top of the hour, so we'll start to wrap up with you. But was there anything about your training this weekend that you wanted to mention that we didn't get to? And of course, I want you to give them a plug.
Absolutely.
It sounds like it was a great place and a very positive experience for you.
Yes. So it's Watchmen Tactical Training. You just type that into Facebook, and you can go there, and you'll find the website. And Gary LaFamboys, he doesn't just do pistol training. He's got other forms of self-defense that he teaches over at Rhino Jiu-Jitsu, which is run actually by a good friend of mine by the name of Keith Owen. So if you're in the Boise area, you want to learn some extra self-defense. He's the man to go to. And just a couple other things I just wanted to mention that I had learned too that just makes complete sense. Obviously you can be in an carry state like Idaho. But there are establishments that say no weapons, and if you come in, they see you carrying.
That depends on state. That depends on the state.
But also the establishment can prohibit you from coming in.
In some cases.
Yeah. So if
New Hampshire's very different. I'm sorry.
If you walk into a store or something, they can ask you to please, go put your weapon away or something.
Yeah.
And just because you can carry a gun doesn't mean that you have to at all times. And if you go into a bar, I strongly recommend, and it doesn't matter whether or not you're drinking, do not take your gun inside of a bar.
Yeah, I'm going to totally disagree with you on that one. 100% disagree with you. Absolutely 100% disagree with you.
But, well, at least in Idaho.
Well, welcome to New Hampshire, where every restaurant serves alcohol, number one. Number two, if you look up a case, I'll send you some information on it in Tennessee, where a lady and her husband were out having an enjoyable evening one night in Tennessee, and a man who had stalked her came in and shot her husband dead in front of her. And she was legislated out of her right to be able to defend herself in that establishment simply because they served alcohol, though she was not imbibing. Had she been able to keep her firearm with her, it's questionable whether her husband would have died. However, that led to massive law change across the country, starting in Tennessee. So there's a lot of good reasons why you should be able to carry. No, you should not get drunk and carry your firearm. That's just stupidity. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to protect yourself in an establishment just because they serve beer.
It's a tough thing. I think because I think I'm torn on that one. I could go either way with that. I understand what you're saying, Jenny, but I also understand the impulse to say, you don't necessarily want to bring a gun into a bar because if you get drunk, now you're now you're drunk with a gun on you. You know what I mean?
Let me clarify that a little bit more for you.
And most people don't have the discipline to say, well, I'm carrying a gun, so I'm just only going to have one drink, and then, you know what I mean?
The only people who follow the law are the law-abiding, not the criminal. You're the only one who's going to see the sign and go, no firearms in here. Okay, I'm not going to bring my firearm in here.
Right.
The criminal, intent on doing harm, doesn't give two cahoots what kind of sign you put up in your window. They don't care.
Right.
So when it comes down to you or the criminal and who gets to walk out of the store alive, that's, I guess, whether or not you can defend yourself.
No, I know. But
in some cases.
But on the other side of that, someone who, the average person who might be carrying a gun into a bar isn't necessarily going to have the self-discipline to say, I'm not going to get sloppy drunk because I have a gun on me. And next thing you know.
I think that's very irresponsible to you to say. Is that not what people do when they go into an establishment and drink and then get in their car and drive?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, some people, a smaller number of people, but there are people out there who are absolutely irresponsible.
Right.
With their car, with their firearm, with themselves.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you make a law denying the basic right to self-defense.
Yeah, I can see both sides of it.
I can see your side too. I mean, you disagree with me all you want, Jenny, but I can understand what you're saying. So
I will share with you off air, I'll post it up on Unleashed as well, some information about that Tennessee case I was talking about, and a great book that you can read about what happened there and why the laws changed.
Before we wrap up, let's just grab this call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hi, Matt. Ron, I'll be real fast.
Yeah.
I would feel a lot safer if people did not carry guns inside of a bar.
You realize we don't have bars in New Hampshire. If they handed out bats at
the door, I'd be fine with that. But I don't want to see people, in the bar with guns, because I might be the guy sitting at the end of the bar that catches the stray bullet.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. However, remember, we don't have bars in New Hampshire. We only have restaurants. Bars are illegal in the state of New Hampshire. You have to serve 4 courses of food in order to serve an alcoholic beverage in New Hampshire. So to say that means no restaurants as well. Are you comfortable with telling people
really
they can't carry anywhere?
The word bars. So, I mean, there are places in New Hampshire, like the 99 or something. They have a bar that is U-shaped that houses a lot of people. So, who cares if it's not a bar?
You're denoting the difference between sitting at a high-top table at a bar versus sitting at a table in a chair? That's not okay. That's not logic. I'm sorry. It's not.
Well,
Well,
I would just be happy if they didn't have guns and if they didn't allow guns, because and if you carry one, good luck to you, because if you do have to use it, my God, it's gonna, you're gonna be going through the ringer when it comes to going to court.
Maybe
and,
it's better than a pine box
and everything else.
It's better than a pine box.
That's true.
That's the alternative.
Well,
if I can't defend
I'd rather see him
myself,
hand out bats at the door.
I mean,
wow.
for a lot of women, being able to carry a firearm and protect themselves is their equalizer against the criminal that would knock them down, beat them up, rape them, rob them, or what have you. What?
To have
really?
To have something as violent as a gun, there are alternative.
You want me to try an alternative measure to defend my life because the criminal has a greater right to life than I do?
I think there are alternatives to guns, and if you're going to go into a bar and you had mace or something, it'll do the same thing.
Mace does not work on everybody. It absolutely does not work on everybody. That is absolutely untrue. It can be effective, but there are very many cases of people who are strung out on drugs and they were not affected by it whatsoever. Look at some of the police shows. You'll see cops spray people and they're still coming at them and they're still trying to kill them because it didn't stop them. Pepper spray does not necessarily save your life. It can be helpful.
Yeah.
But if it comes down to you or him, you're saying that it's okay for the criminal to kill you because you don't have the right to defend yourself to the point of killing somebody else.
Well, I mean, unless how's he going to kill you? Unless he has a knife or something. I don't know how. If they didn't allow guns inside the bars,
that's not true.
His opportunity to kill you is really reduced.
We had a young lady just airlifted yesterday off of a snow sled who apparently got an extremely bad spinal injury and had to be airlifted, and at the scene wasn't able to move their legs. You knock somebody over the bar the wrong way, you can kill them. You punch somebody in the head, you can shatter their skull, you can kill them. There are lots of ways to kill people. And if someone's coming at you with a pool stick, trying to shove it at you or try to kill you with it, or has a metal chair coming at you, you should have the right to defend yourself. And if I'm 5'1" and you're 6'2", and you're the one coming and attacking me, I don't have the physical capacity to defend myself against you. Shouldn't I have the right to defend my life and choose to live another day over allowing the criminal to take me out?
Well, how would you feel if you did fire your gun and you missed and you killed the guy on the other side that that was just minding his own business?
Of course, I would be horrified. I mean, geez, that's an insane question. I would like to think that I would defend myself only in an absolute situation where I had to. And I would like to think that through my training, I have the ability to see past my target. But
exactly.
The bottom line is in that moment
is close-up combat. It's not shooting from 15, 20 feet away. It's close-up combat.
No,
so maybe you could go with a taser.
Honey, when it comes down to getting raped or robbed, I will use whatever means necessary to save my life, and I will encourage every woman to do the same and never decide that they're going to.
Outside of a bar is different. I'm just talking about inside a bar.
Any place I have the legal right to be. Any place I have the legal right to be, I have the legal right to defend myself. I don't care if you're a restaurant, and I'll tell you, there's no such thing as a standard bar where you go in and that's all people are doing is sitting at the bar drinking. There are restaurants in New Hampshire. We don't have bars. They're illegal. We're one of 7 control states. So we need to say the right information. But I will never in a million years tell a woman not to defend herself because she goes to a restaurant.
That's not the issue at hand.
The criminal in your book has a greater right to life than I do if they're in a restaurant. And I don't agree with you. Nor will I tell anybody else that I would agree with that line of thought. I'm sorry. I love you. But on this one, I'm adamant.
Okay, that's cool. You got a right to. Even if you're wrong, that's okay.
I will be more than happy to prove later how right I am.
I'm glad I'm not there. I might get shot.
Not even close. Nice try. All
right, you guys. Be good. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Ron. Bye-bye.
Read from Louise from the Legislature by Dr. Susanna Huff. There's one great example right there where she got to watch her parents die in front of her and were legislated out of the right to defend herself, and how she ended up changing the laws in Texas and going on to be in the legislature. And I will get that case from Tennessee. I'm sorry. I apologize that I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Yet another case in another book in another series of laws across this country as a result of somebody being legislated out of their right to defend themselves and giving the criminal the greater right to life, be able to walk in there and take that life.
Flocka Rivera in the chat says, the men in New Hampshire won't defend us women, so we have to defend ourselves.
That's a crappy answer there, Lady Jane.
I disagree there.
We, individuals.
Easy G on the couch over there. He'll defend you. He's got a couple of guns, if you know what I mean.
What are you going to do? Carry a guy around in your back pocket? You know how to defend yourself.
His guns are pharmaceutically enhanced, of course. All right.
Boy.
Him and those. There go the steroids again.
These stories have got me a little,
a little nervous? All right.
A little bit, yes.
All right. Billy, we've kept you a long time. You've been very generous with your time. You have the floor, sir. I'll let you finish plugging that place and anything else you wanted to mention. And please plug your show, too.
Yes. So first off, I want to give a big shout out to Carrie LaFamboys and, the other instructors, Randy and Taylor. You guys were phenomenal. And it was worth, I could have taken the similar course here in Twin Falls, Idaho, but it was worth going 120 miles west to go ahead and take this course. Much more worth it. And, so Watchmen Tactical Training on Facebook. That's who they are. If you're listening and you're in Idaho, I highly recommend them. Outlaw Radio, this coming Saturday, I will be joined. I had a live discussion with Mike Miller at his humble abode there in Caldwell, Idaho, and we had a little sip of whiskey and had a great talk. Got to meet his wife, got to meet his kids. It was fantastic. Yeah, that's coming up this Saturday on Outlaw Radio. Plus, I will also have my good friend Jericho Green. He's the one who's living close to the Silicon Valley and can shine some more light on that law they're trying to pass in California.
All right.
So that's Outlaw Radio, ABS Alpha Bravo Sierra.com.
All right. Well, Billy, it is always wonderful to speak with you, my friend. Thank you so much. All the way from the great state of Idaho. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been great, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes. Take care. Love you guys.
All right. We love you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Billy Painter. And no, that was a great discussion. And like I said, I'm glad you were here for that, Jenny. Because you
troublemaker.
Because you know so much more about that than I do. I've only even shot a gun on one occasion.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Why, Matt?
I wasn't that into it. Well, because when I used to do that show, I was a co-host on that show, Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades with Gary Hopper.
Right.
And he and a couple of other folks, Ross Terrio was there, and I think there was one other person there. I can't remember. And, went out to Gary's. Gary really wanted me to shoot a gun because I'd never shot a gun. And, and it was all right, but it wasn't, for me, it wasn't like.
Was it a shooting range or something?
No, it was just out at his house, little.
That doesn't sound too safe.
Yes, it is. I had a berm in my backyard when I had my house.
Yeah, it's out in the woods.
I shot in my backyard all the time, but I had over 5 acres, so I was safe.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
in the state of New Hampshire, you just can't shoot next to somebody else's dwelling. Like, I think it's 200 to 300, whatever.
I don't know anything about guns. That's way over my head.
Gun shooting sports can actually be a lot of fun.
Okay.
A lot of fun.
But by the way, you're getting some love in the chat room, not only from Nemi, who is very happy to hear you speak on the subject today.
I saw that.
But,
I love you.
Flocka Rivera says, Jenny is amazing, very knowledgeable, and speaks her mind without hesitation. Very
Thank you.
nice. Very nice.
Thank you.